In November 2012, Vallecito, Colorado was deep into its off-season. It's a rugged, isolated community built around a mountain reservoir, and the site of 13-year-old Dylan Redwine's court-ordered Thanksgiving visit to his father, Mark. The visit was fraught with tension. Over the previous months, the relationship between the father and son had reached a breaking point. During a previous trip, Dylan and his older brother discovered vulgar photographs on Mark's laptop, showing him wearing women's lingerie and eating human waste from a diaper. Dylan confronted his father about the images, replacing his childhood respect with deep disgust, and creating a psychological environment experts call shame rage. To a narcissistic parent, Dylan's possession of this embarrassing secret transformed him. He was no longer just a son, he was a psychological threat. Dylan sent his last text message on the night of November 18th. By the next morning, he was gone. While the community began searching immediately, investigators noted that Mark Redwine remained strangely calm and largely declined to participate in the efforts to find his son. Local law enforcement and volunteers launched a massive search across the harsh winter terrain, combing through deep snow in the mountains surrounding the home. As the physical search stalled, the case turned into a media spectacle. Mark and Dylan's mother, Elaine, traded accusations during toxic national television appearances on Dr. Phil. Despite the national spotlight and mounting public suspicion, the case hit a wall. There was no crime scene, there were no witnesses, and no physical body. When mountain searches were halted by the winter snowpack, investigators pivoted. They turned their attention away from the wilderness and toward the interior of Mark Redwine's home. As this grand jury indictment details, Luenell revealed traces of Dylan's blood hidden under a rug. A specialized canine unit also alerted to the scent of human remains in the living room, washing machine, Mark's truck, and on his clothes. The combination of hidden blood and cadaver scent pointed to a violent event and a subsequent cleanup inside the house, contradicting the theory that Dylan had simply run away. In June 2013, searchers found Dylan's partial remains and scraps of his clothing 8 miles up Middle Mountain Road. The site sat just past a seasonal gate that had been closed the night Dylan disappeared. According to the indictment, on June 27, Mark insisted to his son that Dylan died of blunt force trauma and that investigators would have to find the missing skull to prove it. It would take another 2 years for experts to confirm that specific detail. In 2015, hikers found Dylan's skull 1.5 miles from the first recovery site, across incredibly difficult terrain. Forensic analysis of the skull identified blunt force fractures and sharp tool marks occurring at the time of death, rather than later animal scavenging. Wildlife experts used this dispersal data to challenge the defense's theory of an animal attack. No local predator transports a human head miles away from the rest of the body, and there was no evidence of the struggle or primary blood pool a predator would have left behind. The forensic evidence confirmed human intervention. Someone had intentionally dismembered the remains and relocated them to hide the cause of death. In 2017, the case finally shifted to the courtroom. Mark Redwine was indicted by a grand jury and arrested in Washington state. But the legal process was agonizingly slow. Between pretrial motions, the arrest of a defense attorney, and a COVID-19 mistrial, it would be another 4 years before a jury heard the evidence. At the 2021 trial, prosecutors merged the shame-rage motive with the microscopic blood and bone evidence. After less than a day of deliberations, the jury found Mark Redwine guilty of second-degree murder, and a judge sentenced him to 48 years in prison. Despite a 9-year effort to hide the truth, the physical evidence eventually forced a conviction. During the investigation, Dylan's mother, Elaine Hall, made a startling discovery. In Colorado, tampering with a deceased human body was only a misdemeanor. Elaine campaigned to change that, leading to the passage of Senate Bill 16034. Now known as Dylan's Law, it elevated the crime to a Class 3 felony, carrying up to 12 years in prison. The impact was immediate. The law has already been used to secure harsher penalties in several high-profile cases, including the 2018 prosecution of Chris Watts. Mark Redwine's attempt to erase his son failed. Instead, his actions led to a permanent change in Colorado's criminal code, ensuring that any future attempt to conceal a victim's remains carries a mandatory felony sentence.